So grateful once again to be here with all of you. It's really just everything that I love about this practice, and particularly being able to practice in community. It is so meaningful. And if you're catching this later on the recording, know that you're kind of practicing along with a recording that is, done with a global community. And it's just such a beautiful sense of feeling and connection that we create with each other. So I want to say a little bit about our theme, and then we're just going to dive right in. I also want to say a little bit about things that can be helpful for today's practice. I have 2 blocks set up. I think if you have 2 blocks or 2 things that can be used like blocks, it's helpful to have 2. You can certainly do this practice with 1 or none, but having something that can, as I like to say, give you the go-go gadget arms, if that's a reference that you know, but basically just kind of bring the floor a little bit closer or make your arms a little bit longer. And also a strap of some kind. So whether that is a scarf or a tie or literally a yoga strap or belt, so something. So yeah, you can take a moment to grab these items. And, I think that it's nice to know that we can, that we can adapt our practices. So it's possible to, to do all of this without, but when we have a little bit of assistance, it's nice. And maybe the third piece that I'll name in light of kind of bringing comfort to our mats is that if you are sensitive when your knee is down on the mat, make it comfortable. So if you want a folded blanket or a towel or a cushion or a pillow, so anything that really just helps your practice feel nourishing to you, because that's the point. So I'm calling this practice Stay True to You. And this is really just about coming into your authentic embodied self. And I'm going to play with that a little bit because I'm actually also offering some challenge in this practice, some postures that might take you a little bit to an edge of comfort zone, and some balancing in here and some twisting in this practice. So specifically because there are some physical challenges in this practice, this act of staying true and authentic to you is even more important, right? And in part, this is just because life is going to pull us in so many directions, inevitably, whether it's the birth of a child or a war in your country, right? So we were just speaking about, or whether it's just having normal life stressors, normal life events, right? We can get pulled out. Even the sensory experience of coming back out into the world after a year of lockdown on and off, and some of us are living in places where that's still back on. And so as we come back out into the world, there's a lot of sensory input that we might be experiencing again, and how to stay connected to self as we navigate our way through these challenges, and also positive expansive moments, whatever it might be that kind of brings you out into the world. So there'll be, again, an emphasis on some rooting and some grounding and getting into our legs. We'll use this, the strap to offer a little bit of resistance. And we'll also explore in the twists what happens when we really focus not so much on the twisting of the spine, but on the resisting of the twist. This will all make more sense when we get into it. So I will offer just 2 little quotes here, not so much poems, but just kind of anchoring quotes here from Ian S. Thomas. And he's really quite a beautiful author. If you're not familiar with him, I can stick a link up onto him on Facebook later today. So the first quote is this: "And every day, the world will drag you by the hand, yelling, 'This is important, and this is important, and this is important. You need to worry about this, and this, and this.' And each day, it's up to you to bring your hand back, to yank your hand back and put it on your heart and say, 'No, this is what is important.'" And then he offers up this lovely question. He says, "If there's one question I've learned to ask myself more than any other, it's this: is the thing I'm doing moving me closer or further away from the person I want to be? Is the thing I'm doing moving me closer or further away from the person I want to be?" So I will leave you with those as inquiries of what pulls you out. What do we feel is so important? What yanks us out of self? And how do we bring that hand right back? How do we come closer to the person that you want to be? Right? What Ian Thomas says about this question is that it's simply the remembering to ask the question that brings us home to self. So a lovely little piece. I'm going to shift back onto my mat, and I'll invite you to do a little drop in so that you can just allow yourself to notice what, pardon me, you're sensing and feeling inside. That you can begin to drop into whatever you are needing out of this time, perhaps even setting your own intention for what has brought you to your mat today. What are you hoping to get out of this precious time that you are devoting to your practice? And as you take this inward turn, your eyes can be open or closed. But I invite you to start to sense what you're bringing with you to your mat. The quality of sensations, your own experiences of the world that have informed you in this moment. Any emotions that are present within you, all welcome here. This practice is simply about inviting more of yourself to arrive. We're not here to get rid of anything. And then noticing your breath. Sometimes when we bring attention to the breath, we immediately want to change it in some way, and you can, that's a choice. But you might even simply notice, where are you breathing naturally? Where is the breath flowing? And information perhaps about where some tightness or stickiness might be. And then we'll begin to work with the breath more consciously together. So with this breath exploration, I'm going to invite you to really fill up with the inhalation. So taking a nice long deep breath, finding that point where it feels complete, and then taking an extra sip in from there. And then we'll exhale, long, slow exhale to the point that you feel empty. And then perhaps sending that last bit of stale air out of the lungs. Let's do that again. Inhale. Find what feels like a habitual stopping point and add a little breath in, an extra sip or two. Feel that stretch, and then exhale. Send all of the breath out. Maybe use your abdominal muscles to send that last bit of air out. And it's up to you, nose or mouth, however you can work those extra sips or extra exhales. Let's do it again. Inhale. An extra sip or two. Sending the breath into those little nooks and crannies of stuck spots. And exhale. So you might notice that my arms are kind of involved in this, and you can join me with that, of really allowing your body to find some movement with the breath now. So if you're inhaling and you take those extra sips, you might even stretch a little bit into where you want to send that breath, the upper lungs, into the side body or the upper back. And then if you're exhaling, you can even curl forward a little bit, sending that last bit of air out. 2 more on your own. I like sometimes to retain the breath just a little bit at that top of the inhale and find those movements, stretching, breathing. Remember, all of this is about staying true to you. And when you feel complete with this breath exploration, just beginning to notice, just maybe a few moments to track what has moved within you, what's changing, what's awakening. And I'll invite a few movements together. So just a few rotations, upper body, around your legs, moving and breathing, sensing and feeling your rib cage, your low back, your pelvic bowl. We'll go the other way, letting this be an easy way in. Good. And then we'll find some movements of the spine in a bit of a seated cat-cow. I'll show from the side here. It's pretty simple and intuitive. And for this one today, I'm going to invite you to really sense a wave-like motion through the spine, and you can let your arms come into the action. So you could imagine here that the wave begins with the tailbone, courses through the low spine, comes across to the heart and upper back, the throat, even your face, out the shoulders, the arms, the fingertips. And again, this is intuitive, so you can make it yours. It's not about what it looks like. If it feels right, you could even close your eyes, just allowing yourself to breathe and be moved by the breath. Lovely. And we'll come back to center again. So we'll find our first little twist here, and I'll invite this version today. You can always adapt this to what works for you, but I'll invite you to take your right hand back and your left hand to your heart, and just follow with your gaze to your right fingertips. Follow to any point of range of motion, and then we'll switch it out. Gazing left, following behind. You can have that opposite hand on your heart, that feeling of I'm going out to the world, but I'm staying connected right here to self. And the breath is whatever feels natural, right? You might inhale as you reach, or you might exhale as you reach. And I'm going to invite a variation on this, but instead of hand to heart, I'm going to invite you that as you twist to the right, that the left hand comes to the top of the right pelvis. And as you twist to the right, imagine pressing that right side of the pelvis into your left hand. Good. Notice what changes in the pelvis as you do this. So we're resisting the twist in the pelvis and allowing that twist to be in the upper body. Just 2 more times each side. Resist the twist. Lovely. Let's come on back home. Okay, we're going to bring our feet out in front of us. Remember, there's modifications and options for everything that I'm going to share here. So the first in this next series is we'll come into Navasana and we're going to do some abdominal strengthening. So Navasana can be done with your toes on the earth, nice long spine, lifting the heart. You might roll just behind the sits bones and lift the shins parallel to the earth. You can wiggle your toes a little bit, right? Just feeling into your ankles, your feet. You can keep your hands behind your knees, or you might bring your arms beside your legs. Beautiful place to stay. Some of you might explore lengthening out through the legs, lifting the arms a little bit, really just finding that balance, maybe a little shake in the legs. But there's no goal, right? So finding your exploration, making your way into this little balancing shape on your sits bones, and I'll invite you, whatever exploration you took, to bring your hands behind your knees. From here, we're going to take an open twist. So we're going to twist to, I'm going to go to the left so you can see this, and I'm lengthening my left leg and arm. I'm coming back, I'm going to use the hands behind the knees, and I'm going to take it to the other side. Lengthening arm and leg, coming back to center. A little gentle Navasana twist here. Now you can do this with the feet on the floor. You could even do it with a partial leg lift, keeping one toe on the floor. So lots of ways to explore this in what's working for you in your body. Okay. And when you feel even on both sides, we're going to come back to center. Here is where it can get a little tricky, and you're welcome to put your feet down again. We're going to come into Ardha Navasana, half boat pose. And so we're going to come back, hovering the feet, hovering the upper body. Legs can be down, or we're hovering here. Again, you might find a little tremble, a little shake. So good for you. Let that little tremble shake happen. And then when you're ready, let's settle all the way onto your back and arrive for a moment. Good. We're going to pick it up from here. I'm getting a little warm. So we'll find a variation of a bridge for a moment, just bringing the heels towards the buttocks, knees up towards the ceiling, and I'll invite you to bring your arms up overhead. And you can take one wrist with the other hand, it doesn't really matter, just something where the arms can be soft yet provide some stability. And then from here, beginning just to lift your hips. So there's nothing to see, you don't need to look around, it's pretty intuitive. And you could find a little bit of that wave-like motion in the spine, especially if you felt like you locked up a little bit in the Navasana or the twists. So allowing yourself to feel that freedom and connection to self. And then we'll settle the hips back down. And from here, we'll take the arms forward, lifting the shoulders up. Now you can have the hands forward, or you can use them behind your head. So really listening to what's going to work in your body. Option from here is to extend the right leg. Option from here is to extend the left leg floating above the earth. You can always keep that foot down. So listening to your body, and we'll find the breath in whatever shape you've chosen. And even if you choose one shape to start with, you can switch it out, right? It's your practice. Beautiful, lowering the left foot, right foot comes to meet it, arms can come up above the head. And exhale, we're gonna sweep the arms forward, lift the shoulders. This time it's the left foot that lifts. Maybe the right foot stays on the earth, or maybe you extend it long. Connecting to breath. Now remember, hands behind the head, an option if your neck is taking this over in an uncomfortable way. Beautiful. Settling the right foot, left foot, arms can sweep up and back. Exhale, lifting to center, right leg extends, maybe left leg extends. Curling everything toward each other, maybe a little shake here. Left foot lowers, right foot lowers, arms reach back. Exhale, lifting through the shoulders, left leg extends, right leg long if you'd like. Lowering right foot, lowering left, arms sweep back. And one more time like this. Exhale, lift, right leg, left leg long. Lowering left, lowering right, arms sweep back. Exhale. Lifting left leg, extending the right. Lowering the right foot, lowering the left, arms back behind. A variation on this. On the exhale, lifting up, lengthening the right leg, maybe lengthening the left. And here's where I do like my hands behind my head, twisting toward the right. Maybe one hand behind the head, maybe the other arm reaching long. Coming to your breath. Lowering left foot, coming back through to center, lowering the right leg, arms overhead. Exhale to lift. Lengthen the left leg, lengthen the right leg, and twisting over toward the left. Beautiful, you're doing great. Maybe you extend one arm. Let the head be heavy in the supporting hand. Lowering the right foot, back to center, lower the left leg. Inhale, breathe. Exhale to center. Lifting right leg, extending the left, twisting toward the right. Feeling that crunch, that strength, that intensity that happens when we really curl into something. And then lowering the left foot back to center, lowering the right leg. One more time. Inhale to center, lifting left leg, extending the right, and curling towards the left. You can always place that toe down for a kickstand on the right foot, listening to your body. And then back to center, right foot lowers, left foot lowers, lowering through your upper body. Let your arms rest for a moment. Well done. Drawing arms up overhead, maybe clasping the opposite wrist than you did the first time. Heels in line with your sits bones, and perhaps lifting up your hips, lengthening through the front body. It's a gentle bridge, nothing forced here. and exhaling down. So from here, I'm going to invite you to grab your strap or your scarf or belt or whatever you're using for that purpose. Have that for this next section. And if you've sat up, returning to your back. So this time, I'll invite you to wrap the strap around your right foot and extend your left leg long. This time, left heel on the floor. With this strap giving us an extra length to our arms here, allow your left hand to root onto your left hip, really keeping that grounded, and begin to take your right foot over to the right. You can allow your right elbow to come down, giving a little bit of support. You can find the range of motion. There is no goal here. We're not trying to get the foot to the floor. And if your left hip starts to roll up, resist this opening by staying true to self, really engaging through those abdominals to allow the limbs to extend without coming out of that core support. Beautiful. We're going to come up through center. And this time we're going to take the strap in the left hand and taking your right hand, press into the right hip crease and press it slightly away from you. So we're drawing a longer side body between the right pelvis and rib cage. And then I'll invite you to take the right leg just slightly across midline. So we're getting into the IT band on the outside of your right leg. We're flexing through the right foot. You might take the foot a little further away from you or a little closer. Again, we're reaching that right hip down and away. Really pressing that right hip into the earth, the right buttock into the earth, so we're not rolling off that hip. And then if you'd like, we can take it into a twist. And this time, the right hip lifts up, but the right shoulder resists. So now the right shoulder and arm can root down into the mat, into the earth, as we take the right leg across the body. You might even let your gaze come across towards the right side. And then slowly returning back to center, unwinding the strap from your right leg. You can extend it long and we'll switch it out. Strap around the left foot and taking a moment here just to acclimate to this shape. And then with the right hand on the right hip, you might explore taking left foot toward the left. Now really anchoring your pelvis down, keeping that tether to your core as the limbs extend. I like to rest my left elbow down so that as I'm holding the strap, it gives me a little bit of floor support for the weight of my leg. And again, it's not about how far the leg comes to the earth. It's about the integrity of staying true to you. And we'll come back through center, switching the strap, right hand holds on, and left hand into that left hip crease. And here we're pressing that left hip flexor away, lengthening the left side body, and then coming just across midline. It doesn't have to be a very far extension here to begin to feel it. And because it's your practice, you're going to know where that sensation lies, and you're going to adapt this to you. And perhaps from here, taking it over into a twist, this time grounding into the left shoulder, left hand can reach long. You can decide the depth of this twist, how far across your leg goes. Typically that left hip will begin to stack above the right, And you might even take your gaze to the left. You might take a moment just to imprint this shape in your mind. We're going to be visiting variations of this shape throughout the practice. And it'll be fun to experience it again in different relationships to gravity. Beautiful. We're going to come back through to center. We're going to release the strap off to the side. And this time, drawing the legs in and hands behind your knees, I'll invite a few rock and rolls on your spine. Eventually rocking up and over your shins, and we'll meet in a tabletop. All right. So new position in the world, new shape and gravity for today's practice, and I'll invite you to make it yours. Just finding any movements that help you integrate the spinal awakening and core strengthening that we've done thus far. How does your body want to move with what's awakened inside of you? How do you integrate this and make it yours? As you're moving, you might still become awakened to areas of stickiness or tension in your body. And you're going to respond to that, right? Like once you feel the tightness, then you get to go, I'm aware of it now, right? Because so often what do? We go, I'm tight in my hip or my back hurts. So instead go, I see you, I'm awake to you now. What do you need from me? How can I breathe into you? What happens if I bring my awareness there? What changes with that simple action? Bringing your hand back to self. And then if you want to stay with your free form, go for it. I'm going to invite some spinal waves here. So it's like a cat-cow, but we're moving in a circular motion. So you can allow your heart to come closer to the earth, moving through a cow, and then arching into cat as you bring your hips towards your heels. And just allowing yourself to kind of Ferris wheel the spine. You can also take this in the opposite direction, moving away from the heels, up through cat, and exhale through cow. Beautiful. And you could stay just as you are, or with an invitation to curl the toes under, to lift the hips, and to find that same Ferris wheel motion. So you can come forward, and then next time knees are lifted as we come back. Coming away from the heels, taking buttocks back toward the heels. You can go in one direction, and you can switch it out. You can bring the heart forward and through, up and back. And then when you're ready, pressing back into a downward facing dog. And maybe just walk it out. So now getting to know your legs, the legs that accompany you on today's journey. You can bend one knee and switch it out to the other. Or you might bend both knees. And I like to twist it out a little bit, right? You can bend the knees, send the hips a little closer to the heels, shifting side to side. And then back to center. So here's another option to play with if you'd like. So maybe lifting one leg up. And this time we're going to rotate that leg. You can just allow this to, again, be intuitive. You can take the knee forward and back. You might open the hips. You might gaze under the body, wave at your foot, let your foot circle back. All right, just taking a few breaths with that right leg movement. Whatever feels good, natural, and of course, you can always rest on the earth in child's pose at any point. We're going to bring that right foot down and we'll switch it out, lifting the left leg, then you can bend the knee, circle it out. It's nice sometimes to think that your leg then can be an extension of a tail. You can extend that tail back, or you might bend it. You might look under and find your foot. You can circle the foot around. Lovely. And then stepping the left foot down to meet the right and gazing forward in a nice lingering walk to the front of your mat. Finding a little forward fold here, a ragdoll shape. You can allow the head to be heavy. Hands can be on the earth, or you might want pinkies to elbow creases. Some of you might say, well, I brought blocks to my practice. I'm going to use them here, right? Make this yours. And we'll be revisiting this shape shortly, but for now, a little lengthen of the spine, and then a folding in. And your choice if you want to roll up to standing or come up to standing with a long spine. New relationship to gravity. Taking a moment here. You might shake something out. Release your jaw, your face, your voice, shoulders and hips. And shake out one leg and the other. And then perhaps just a moment in stillness, arriving a little more deeply with what's present for you today on your mat. Lovely. So for this next practice, I'm going to show this with a block. I like it with a block because it sets the pelvis and the sacrum in a nice position. And this block is going to go between the upper thighs. And you can use a rolled up towel there. So you can be creative in this one. And you, of course, can do this without a block at all. So I want you to imagine that you're sending this block to the wall behind you, that your inner thighs are rolling toward the block. And just begin to sense what changes in the sacrum as you roll the inner thighs back, and then squeeze the block. So we're bringing inner thighs back, legs are coming together, and then tune into your feet for a moment. So notice if you've rolled to the outer edges of the feet and how squeezing the block might really bring or wake up the inner edges of your feet. And then see if you can balance that out. So you might explore what happens if you weight the outer edges of the feet, the inner edges, and then see what happens if you look for those two sides of each foot to be equally balanced, or whatever that might be for this kind of structured little practice right here. And then from here, we're going to add in a little twist. So we'll draw the arms up, and we're going to take the right arm back, and like we did seated, we're going to take the left hand across to the right hip. And as we twist through the upper body, I invite you to press the right hip and the right top of the pelvis into your hand. Your gaze can be forward, to the side, or to the back. And notice what happens as we stabilize in the pelvis and let that twist come from mid-spine. Good, let's switch it out. So this time, it's the left arm back, right hand to the left hip crest, and then your gaze can be wherever it's comfortable, opening across the chest, finding that reach to the world and resisting by staying connected to your core. Beautiful. One more time each side. Switch it out to the right, squeeze the block, sending the block behind you, right hip pressing forward. And switching it out. Following behind, resisting in the hips, nice and square, squeezing the block, checking in with your feet. And exhale, whew, letting that go. Releasing the block down. You might shake out a little bit again if you want. And then I'll invite you to inhale here. Exhale into a forward fold. My feet are hip width here, and I'll invite that just for this next one. And you can, again, have your hands on the earth, or you can use a block to bring the floor closer. And from here, I'll invite you to walk the hands toward the right. As you walk the hands to the right, resist with the left hip by drawing it slightly back. You can have your knees slightly bent here. And then let's walk the hands to the other side, to the left. That's a twist in the mid-spine, and we're resisting as we draw the right hip slightly back. Lovely. Coming back through center, inhale, finding a halfway lift, and exhale. Let's plant the hands, and we'll step back to a high plank for a moment, just feeling that strength of the core once again. You might roll a little bit forward and back on the toes. You can always have knees down. It's an option here. And then we'll all lower the knees, bending at the elbows to lower the chest, keeping the sacrum lifted, lower the chin, this little inchworm shape here, feeling that opening through the low spine. And exhale, lowering down through the hips. We'll find just a few breaths here, some rolling cobras. Your choice, how much weight in the hands, how much lift of the spine. I like to play around with drawing the heels of the hands back just a little bit with each lift, just allowing some more length in the low spine. And then eventually I'll invite you to lift up, and for a moment, just pressing back into some version of a child's pose. And there's many options here. So sometimes it's nice just to get to know what's your favorite version of child's pose. Do you like the knees together? Do you like to widen the knees? Do you want to lower the heart between the legs here? Do you want to rest your forehead on your hands? Or maybe your hips are lifted higher and maybe your toes are curled under, right? There are so many variations and you get to choose. Once you feel satisfied with your child's pose, I'll invite you to leave it behind. We'll come back again, but for now, lifting back up into a downward facing dog. And in this downward facing dog, we're going to shorten our stance. So you might either walk your hands closer to your feet or your feet closer to your hands. So we're shortening it by about a foot or so, or a handprint or so. And then I'll invite you to take a little twist here by taking right hand under your body, taking hold of the outside of your ankle or under your foot or higher on your leg, and then using that hand to facilitate a little twist underneath. So I'm looking under my left armpit, and you can play around here with your hips by, again, resisting the twist, really staying nice and even in the low body. And then let's switch it out. Right hand plants, left hand under your body. Each side might have a different story to tell, so we listen. And then slowly coming back to center, you can widen out your stance once again. And from here, I'll invite you to lift that right leg. We found this shape earlier. This time we're going to gaze forward and step the right foot forward and through. Now, I like having my blocks here. You might choose to use them in this shape as well. And just a few intuitive breaths in and out of your lunge, getting to know right hamstring and left hip flexor, what's happening over here. And then we'll meet in a low lunge. So this next little piece, you might use your block or not, but I'll invite you to come into an open twist by taking right hand to your sacrum and letting the upper spine twist. Now, if you could imagine a little helium balloon below your left hip crease, that's what we're going for, so that the pelvis stays stable. You can put a little teacup on your pelvis, on your sacrum, and we're twisting through the mid-spine. Once you feel like you've got that stability, maybe you lengthen the arm. And then slowly lower down. So again, blocks are handy for this next transition. I'll invite you to shorten your stance slightly. So taking that back foot in, and we'll come into pyramid variation. So you can find that distance of the feet, and that left foot is angling forward. And here it's nice to imagine again that we're drawing that right hip back. And we're going to start here with that long spine, nice, flat, stable sacrum, even engaging your core here. Some of you might fold forward a little bit, but that's not required because there's no requirements. You can explore. You might even find a little wave-like motion in the spine over the stability of your legs. Good. And then from here, I'm going to invite you to take your weight forward onto that right leg. So now the left foot has come off the ground, and you can get a sense as to why those blocks might be handy. So check in, see if that right hip lifted. You can lower it down a little bit. You might meet that right outer IT band once again. Just another breath here. And then we'll lower the left foot to meet the right. So we are going to find our way back up to standing. And You can see what's changed, right? So familiarity of just a basic standing shape. Noticing your hips, your sacrum, your legs. Inhale, drawing the arms up. This time, exhale, I'll invite you to take the fingertips down and bend at the knees. And we'll find a version of an Utkatasana. You can have your feet hip width apart for this one if you like, or you can step the feet together. And I'm going to just have you bring the arms right out in front. And then just like we did standing, left hand, right hip. Just a little opening here. Like kind of drawing the right wing back. And then let's switch it out. Right hand, left hip, left arm opens. Really drawing that integrity of the low core and the pelvis as we reach into the world. And then back to center. Let's inhale up to standing. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale to a halfway lift. And exhale as we plant the hands. You can step back. And you can lower to the earth, or some of you might prefer to lower halfway down, rolling over the toes and lifting into an upward facing dog. Remember the earth and cobra, child's pose, always options for you. Exhaling, we'll meet in downward facing dog. This time it's our left leg that we invite up into the air and gazing forward, stepping forward and through into a low lunge. And we start over again on this side. Listening to what your left hamstring, your right hip flexor want you to know as you go into a little free form movement. Good. And then from here, with or without your block, grounding into the right hand, and left hand can come to your sacrum. So checking in with that right hip flexor, keeping it buoyant as we find the twist through the mid-spine, really balancing that teacup on the sacrum, and then maybe the arm lifts. So there's a lot of structure to this class, and then there's freedom around it. Lovely. Coming back around to the front, having those blocks handy. You can use one or two, and maybe stepping shorter into pyramid. So grounding into your feet, taking your time to find this shape, nice and stable in the low body. So I've got my upper body pretty lifted here, finding that long line from the tailbone to the crown of head. And then if it feels right, you might begin to fold into the shape, or maybe wave the spine over the shape. And from here, I'll invite you to lift the right leg and finding a little bit of a supported balance. So we've got our hands making contact with something. We've got that left foot pressing into the ground. Notice if that right hip opened and restoring that stability in the low body. And then lowering through the right leg Taking a moment to fold in and then to lengthen all the way up to standing. Exhale through Utkatasana. Inhale, finding a little twist shape. You can resist with the right hip and hand. Exhale, a little Utkatasana, flying the arms back. Inhale. Let's open the other side. And exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway. And exhale your way to downward facing dog. From downward dog, we're gonna build onto this whole little sequence here, freeing the right leg back and behind. Exhale, forward and through. And this time, lowering the left knee down. I'll invite you to draw the arms up and through a prayer pose, take the left elbow to the outside of your right thigh. So this, once again, is going to involve a little bit of that same imagination. You can even take your hand there if you want for a moment, taking that pelvis into that stable shape, and then hands to prayer pose, opening through the spine, through the heart. You might tuck those left toes under, and maybe you lift the left knee. Unwinding the twist. Blocks are handy. Then finding your way into a pyramid shape. And this time we'll add a little twist to our pyramid. So you might keep that left hand grounded on a block to the outside of your left foot as right hand comes to sacrum, or the left hand can come across to the outside of the right foot. Really listening to your body, it's your practice. You can keep that right hand on the sacrum, little teacup here, or maybe you lift the arm. How do we find those ways of reaching into the world, but staying true to self? Slowly exhaling back down, using the blocks just as we did, lifting the left leg. This time, once again, we're going to add a twist. It's the left hand that stays rooted on the block. Right hand can come to sacrum, finding the twist in the upper body. Now we have 2 points of contact with the floor. Maybe the right arm lifts. And slowly turning back down to the earth. This time we will bend into the left knee behind the right leg, pressing into the right foot, and take your left knee with you. A little balance shape right here. That's a tricky transition. And if you put your foot down to get there, hallelujah, you're using support. It's about navigating our way through the challenges of life in a way that's right for you. So you might stay right here, or, and I'm going to just turn my body for a moment, you can explore opening the left knee to the left. Now you can take that right hand to your hip, or you might open up the right arm, and you might even explore taking your gaze to your right fingertips. We'll come back through center. Right hand can come across, taking a hold of the outside of the left leg, and the left arm can come across. Just acclimating in balance, feeling all of the little micro movements required of you. We'll come back to center, 2 feet on the earth. Inhale, sweeping the arms up. Exhale, bending through the knees. Inhale, finding a halfway lift, draw the arms up. Exhale, hands to prayer, and taking left elbow to the outside of the right leg. So we did this in a lunge. Now we're doing it here. You can take that left hand into a little fist here and wrap it with the right hand. You can always check back in with your sacrum. Is it following the twist? Can you resist with the left hip? You can gaze at your knees. Are your knees in line? That's a sign your sacrum is in line. And then slowly unwind through the twist. Forward fold here, and walk it out through the legs. And then a halfway lift. And fold your way to downward dog. Some of you might say, I'm just going right there, or I'm finding a child's pose on the way. Whatever's going to support you in this practice. You might need a water break, right? Meeting in downward facing dog. From downward dog, I invite you to inhale the left leg. Exhaling forward and through. Low lunge. This time, the right knee is invited to the earth to stay there, or as a transitional process in this shape. We can draw the arms up overhead. Exhale into prayer hands and a prayer twist. The right elbow to the outside of your left thigh. You can check with your sacrum. You can reset here. Gaze can be down or to the side or up, whatever your neck says yes to. And maybe you lift that left knee off the earth. Slowly unwinding, hands to blocks. We're shortening the stance. Pyramid into twisted triangle. Right hand can be on a block out to the right, or it can come across the body to a block outside your left foot. There isn't a better or worse. Left hand to the sacrum, finding a long spine, tailbone to crown of the head, and then maybe a twist through the upper body. Maybe the hand is just like the little candle at the top of the cake. Rest of the body's the cake. Unwinding the twist, using your blocks, and we step into the left foot. This time, as the right leg lifts, we can use the right hand out toward the right side as our stable base between left foot, right hand, and left hand to sacrum. Finding a little twist here. We were in this shape on our backs. Feel that imprint now? Maybe you extend that left leg or arm, whatever that is, that limb, up to the sky. And slowly unwinding. Right foot to meet the left, not quite. We're going to keep the foot lifted. Let's bend the knee, and we're going to slowly lift to standing. And hey, if the foot touches down, that's all good. We're going to come up into a supported balance shape, hands wrapping right shin or under the right leg, whatever you'd like here. And then perhaps drawing that right knee out to the right. Maybe left arm to the left, maybe your gaze. Perhaps across the body, left hand to the outside of the right leg, and we open the right arm. And slowly back to center, 2 feet on the earth, releasing the knees. Inhale, Utkatasana. And exhale, right elbow to the outside of your left leg. Long through the spine, even through the sacrum. And slowly unwind the twist, forward fold. From here, we're going to come back up to standing, and an option to use your strap for this next little flow. So we've already explored these shapes on our back and a modified version in standing, and you can do the modified version with the bent knee that we just did. Otherwise, we'll find a version with a strap, and I'll start with the right leg. I can see a few of you grabbing your straps still, so I'll give a moment. Once you're there, you can I'm just using a open strap here. If you have a shorter belt, you might need to put a little hole in one end and tie a knot there. But however you're going here, we're gonna lift the right leg with the strap, and then using the hands with whatever distance, hard to turn on one foot, whatever distance you need here to create that length through the right leg, holding onto the strap. Now you can check in, you can even bring your left hand to your low back here, really drawing that right hip down and away from the right shoulder. And then perhaps we begin to draw the right leg out to the right side. You can maybe take that left hand to the left, and you can challenge the balance by taking your gaze to the left. Very slowly, we're going to come back to center. Again, here's the imprint we explored on our backs. This time, opening the right arm back as we twist toward the right leg. Slowly unwinding, releasing the foot from the strap. You can shake out your left foot if you'd like. Shake out your hips, letting something go. Sigh it out, let your jaw go, your tongue. If you're holding tension around your eyes, let it go. Let's find side 2. Left foot meets the strap, our friend here. And then we can begin to lift up. Take a moment to acclimate to balance on this side. And then you can find the right length of the strap with the hand to send your foot forward. Now, some of you might be able to do this without a strap, right? Like you have that flexibility to grab your toes and all of that. But I like the strap because it keeps that integrity of the spine and really allows us to stay true to the core of the body and to the integrity. So perhaps here, beginning to open the leg to the left, and maybe your arm goes to the right. Maybe your gaze follows. I don't know if you can hear our house finches outside. We have a whole nest of them at our window here. All right, let's come back through to center. We're gonna switch hands. So now right hand's holding the strap, left arm can come back, and then we twist through the upper body as left foot continues to kick forward. And then slowly, let's come back to center. Let's unwind, let's shake it out. Lovely. You can release the strap. And let's just find one little more flowy flow here. Just let's a little bit of freedom movement. Inhale and exhale. Inhale halfway. Exhale, planting your hands, maybe stepping back, high to low, your variation. Maybe lifting the heart, pressing back, downward facing dog. This time, an invitation to lift through the right leg. Exhale, forward and through, opening the twist as we lift the right arm, wiggling the right fingertips to lift into a twisted crescent. You can bend that left knee. And here, a little freedom movement. Inhale, lifting through the left arm. Exhale, as if you're going into that twist with the elbow, but we're not going there all the way. Inhale, reach away. Exhale, half twist, just leaning in. Inhale, reach away. Exhale. This time, the inhale turns us all the way around, opening the hips for warrior two. In warrior two, you might choose stillness, or you might just lean a little bit forward and back. And in doing so, you can kind of imagine that your arms are like wave motions on the ocean. Good. Inhale, we'll reach away from the front bent leg, maybe hand to heart. And exhale, extended side angle. This time, an invitation for left hand to your sacrum, really rooting there, allowing that left hip crease to roll down slightly as you lift through the upper spine and heart, so that there's a stability in the lower body and a little twist in the spine. Maybe you free the left arm behind you, or perhaps overhead. Inhale, we'll lift up, lengthening through the right leg, reaching away. Exhale, Trikonasana. Maybe a block is handy here. This is just for you, your breath, your body. If this final flow is too much for today, your favorite child's pose always awaits you. Slowly exhaling as we bend the right knee. Inhale, halfway, and exhale to the earth. Your way to downward dog. And this time, freeing your left leg. Exhale, forward and through. Finding that open twist, lifting through the left arm, wiggling the left fingertips, and letting the left arm bring you up to a twisted crescent lunge. Maybe a little bend in the right knee. And here's where we do that little kind of partial twist here. Inhale, we reach. Exhale, we flow in. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. And this time, inhale all the way up and around, warrior two. Taking your time to get there. A little footwork. And then perhaps a little forward and back, letting that move across the heart, fingertip to fingertip, like you're flossing through your heart center, getting all of the gunk out, creating a clear channel. And inhale, reaching away. Exhale, extended side angle, and a pause here, perhaps that remnant of what we've been working on all class, tuning into the sacrum, keeping that stability as we roll the right shoulder back, lift through the heart, and then maybe extend that through the right arm. Staying here, or perhaps right arm overhead. This time we lift up again, reverse triangle. And exhale, reach, 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 and rotate. Maybe that block is handy. Slowly, we bend into the left knee, inhale halfway, and exhale to the earth. Making your way to downward dog, maybe just simply pressing back. Once you've arrived in downward dog, there's an invitation to come into pigeon today. This is a drawing back of the right leg, and the right knee can come towards the right wrist crease. Now, if your knees say no thank you, you can come onto your back for a supine figure 4. And if you would like to do pigeon, but you need more support, a block underneath your hip is an option. You can even explore just staying lifted in this, or finding your variation, perhaps as you settle forward into gravity. You can use your forearms for support, perhaps resting your head down, maybe on a block, maybe onto stacked hands. This is an invitation to let go of any unnecessary holding in your brow, around your eyes, around your jaw or your tongue. Releasing in the neck and shoulders. And intentional breathing into your right hip, your sacrum, your low back. And then a slow pressing into the hands, a curling of the left toe underneath you. And we'll step the right foot back to meet the left. Now, before we switch sides, an invitation here to lift that right leg one more time. We started at the beginning today stacking the hips, and that might feel really good right here. Just opening up through the psoas. And some of you might choose to step that right foot behind. The question is this bringing you closer or further away from who you want to be, right? So you might find a little wild thing here. You can keep your right hand on your heart, or you can reach it away. But listen to your body, what's keeping you connected to self, true to you. And if you've opened up, we'll meet in downward dog. And if some of you just watched that for fun, that's lovely. It feels good if it feels good. How about that? Let's draw the left leg back and behind. And exhale, left knee towards left wrist. And we'll find our way into pigeon side 2. And perhaps for you, that's on your back in a supine figure 4. Finding your way. Maybe staying lifted, maybe a block or a cushion. I like a little cushion under my hip here. And perhaps lowering down, forearms, maybe resting your head onto something. So that this gesture of a forward fold is one of surrender and receptivity. All right, my friends, slowly lifting up, pressing into the hands, and curl the right toes under, and step the left foot back. And if you enjoyed that last little sequence on side 1, you might find it here on side 2, lifting your left leg. You can stack the hip. This is a perfectly wonderful place to stay. And some of you might shift forward a little, place that left foot on the ground, and open up through the heart, the whole front body, staying true to you. Right hand can be right here on your heart. Maybe you reach, keeping the remnant of that connection. And slowly returning back to earth. From here, I'll invite you to lower the knees, shifting hips to the side and legs out in front. We'll find a shape here just to find some balance in the sacrum and spine after all of these twists. So here, Paschimottanasana, seated forward fold. You can even draw a little bit of the flesh back from under the sits bones, really rooting down into the pelvis, lengthening through your spine, through the crown of the head. And then perhaps walking yourself forward. You can even use a strap here around your legs, right? Lots of ways to bring that into our practice. And you might work with a long spine, really staying with that integrity, or if it's right for you, you might curl forward. You might find a few of those wave breaths of the spine over the legs. And settling into your forward fold, whatever that means to you. It can feel good to bring a block or a cushion under your head here. Letting this be a little bit more restorative, the yin side of the practice, receptive, open and surrender intentions. The beauty of the practice is that we change in small increments with each breath. As we sense and feel, the body knows that we're in relationship, we're in connection, and then something lets go, and then the shape evolves. And slowly, slowly walking yourself up, maybe grabbing a layer for warmth if you'd like that. And I'll invite you to come all the way onto your back. Once you arrive there, you might take a moment, knees to chest. You could even tuck your nose to your knees. And then making your way into final resting pose, corpse pose, Savasana. You can draw your feet out to the edges of your mat, palms away from the sides of your body, palms turned upward. Once again, that receptive gesture, softening your shoulders from your ears, softening your eyes, your tongue, your jaw, maybe even softening the gears of the mind. And we'll settle into a few minutes of stillness. As you rest here and receive your practice, I'll invite you to reflect once again on that which brings you home to you. Again, this is all about staying true to your authentic embodied self. Every day, the world will drag you by the hand saying, this is important, and this is important, and this is important. You need to worry about this or that. But each day, you get to bring your hand back and place it on your heart and say, no, this is what's important. You're welcome to stay here, resting in Savasana for as long as you'd like. And for those of you that need to or are ready to transition into the next part of your day, I invite you to slowly deepen the breath, finding some micro movements, and to make this transition back out into the world in any way that helps you stay close to the person you want to be. Wondering how your body intuitively makes this transition, drawing your knees in, curling up perhaps, reaching, stretching like a morning stretch. I love witnessing you find your way back. And those of you that have chosen to stay on your back or curled on your side, it's just so beautiful. I can see how you're staying connected to you. Thank you for that. Just a very quiet inward closing. One or both hands over your heart if you'd like. Maybe a hand to your cheek. Just in that loving gesture, thanking yourself for devoting this time to you. Namaste.